What is that? Uh, I forget you're on Twitter. Someone collaborating you anyway. I gotta have premium to go live on Twitter. Yeah, like. I ain't getting premium just to go live on Twitter. That's crazy. I should get a kid count though. Go live on that one. How do you eat if you don't remember doing different two foods? I wanna know. How do you eat?
Chip challenge. Look how black it is. Oh, it's burning.
And people say that.
Try that. Let's try the.
How is this? Hang on. I can show it on here. What am I doing playing over here? You can hear it better? Share screen. That one. I need to be able to see the comments, y'all.
Get ready for the lights and sound. The best new stream in town.
Yo! Massive shout out to everyone watching. You are awesome. Welcome to the official channel for It's Andy. Make sure to subscribe for more amazing content. Hey! Come back! Alright, this is the world's hottest pepper. Oh no, it is burning my mouth. Give me that milk right now. Do not ever try this. Alright, this is the world's hottest pepper.
These niggas ain't having that shit like they.
Where did that video go? Hang on. What? Bear with me, y'all. Where is that? That 30 minutes. Okay. Where did it go? Girl. It to
for somebody to tell me that this was the beginning of the rest of my life was really, really daunting.
Caroline Craig from Boston is living with allergies so severe that she is only able to safely eat 2 foods.
And for the first couple of years of my life, had no health issues. When I was 2.5 years old, I had a random anaphylactic allergic reaction to crackers with traces of nuts in them. I blew up like a balloon, my throat was closing, I could barely, breathe or speak. I had that allergic reaction, and then it triggered something in me where I had a lot of food intolerances. Peanuts, nuts, sesame,
we'll talk about this after.
mustard, kiwi, seafood, but all of those things, were pretty easily managed.
She adjusted to those allergies and had a normal upbringing.
Things started slowly going downhill the summer between my senior year of high school and my freshman year at college. And that is because I was dating somebody who did not respect my allergies. So I remember very clearly the first time going out to dinner with him. I ordered food and then told the waiter my whole spiel. And I remember when the waiter walked away, my ex-boyfriend said, "Oh, I feel like you were being a little bit dramatic there. Like, is it really this severe, or do you need to be making this big of a deal of it?" I was 18 years old, and at the time I thought I loved him, and his words definitely kind of permeated my brain. I started to be more lenient about my allergies for the sake of not wanting him to think I was being dramatic.
This mistake caused an incident at a food truck event.
Wait a minute. Her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, sorry. Almost killed her in a way. So now we have that.
My ex-boyfriend thinks that I'm being dramatic about my allergies, so I don't want to make that impression on anybody else. So if I just go with the food truck, the ice cream truck that I know is safe, I'll be fine. I didn't mention my allergies, which was the biggest mistake of my life. I didn't tell them that I was susceptible to, having a reaction from cross-contamination. And so they didn't know to use a new spoon. They took one bite of it, and I immediately felt what is anaphylaxis. And
when you have a plate, you gotta have a new spoon, so that's a health code violation.
I got this big sense of doom and head rush, and my vision tunneled, and my throat started constricting, and my mouth got super itchy. And I turned to my friend, and I said, "Oh my God, I think I'm having an allergic reaction." I knew that could have been avoided. And at the end of the day, it was a decision I made, and then things spiraled from there.
Her reactions regularly continued.
it became clear that I had so many reactions in such a short span of time that my body had spiraled into a state of continued anaphylaxis. And I was reacting to all the food, but it should go away in a couple of months if I stay on this medication regimen. Spoiler alert, 7.5 years later, it did not go away in a couple of months.
Caroline was officially diagnosed April of 2018.
That is terrible. To have to be on a breathing machine because you ate something you're allergic to. It's terrible.
He basically said that I have mast cell activation, which is a chronic immune condition in which the mast cells or the allergy cells are overreacting and perceiving things in the environment to be pathogens or allergens. My mom and I basically started crying as soon as we got the diagnosis. It felt like I was putting this huge burden that was on my shoulders and somebody was lifting it off of me. At the same time, though, it was extremely depressing because she said there is no cure for this, but there are things we can do to make it better.
And there's no cure for it? Golly.
And this is a chronic condition.
After her diagnosis, she was limited in what she could consume.
And by the beginning of June of 2018, I could only eat oats. I was slowly but surely becoming malnourished.
A doctor suggested
She can only eat oats? And she's becoming malnourished? I hate to live that life.
try something unusual.
She kind of approached me and she said, okay, this is a weird idea, but let me know if you're open to it. And she said, how about baby formula? She told me that it contains...
I would not eat baby formula. Ew.
all the vitamins, minerals, calories, all the nutrients you need to build a life and to sustain a body. And I said, yes, I would, because I'm open to anything at this point. I am at rock bottom. They mixed a little bit of the powder with water, mixed it up, and then I took a couple sips of it, and then we waited. And you'd think it was my God, it was you could hear a pin drop. It was just so much anticipation. And after a few minutes, I was like, I feel fine. And they were like, okay. I was able to leave the hospital with a prescription of baby formula.
If you prescribed it, I don't know if I would. I would try to find something that I'm not allergic to before I try that.
And that is what I have been eating now, oats and formula for 5.5 years.
I'm an easy one. I actually have a bunch of food allergies, so I brought my own food if that's okay.
Caroline is allergic to more than just food.
Environmental allergens like pet dander, so dogs and cats and honestly anything with hair or fur, mold or dust or anything like that. So I still live, in my childhood home with my parents because this place has been pet-free since it was built. It's really hard for me to go to friends' apartments, so I haven't gotten on a plane in 5.5 years. There are moments where I feel like the girl in the bubble.
And not gonna lie, seeing the spread of delicious food that my family made was probably the hardest part of the day, but we
Okay, that looks good. What time dinner over there?
persevere.
Loved ones have adjusted to Caroline's needs.
It's definitely a big act of service for me to see people helping me out in that way.
Az has her new boyfriend.
He has to avoid all of those allergens 24 hours prior. He cannot eat anything 3 hours prior to kissing me. And then he also has to brush his teeth beforehand as well. And he follows all those rules to a T ever since our first date, which is amazing. And he's super, super safe about all of it. And basically that just ensures that, I don't come into contact with any allergens.
Okay, that's a good boyfriend right there. But Back to video.
There are times when Caroline gets food cravings.
Yes, I miss food like crazy, of course. It's usually like crappy food. It's usually like Oreos or ice cream or like French fries, like fried food. I just write it down. And cravings, scientifically, they go away within 7 minutes, so it's fine. That I'll be okay.
Here is what I eat in a day as the girl who can only eat 2 foods. Starting off with cromolyn sodium, which is what I take 20 minutes before I eat, and then usually I take my pills after I eat my breakfast, but I woke up so late because I filmed this on Sunday. For breakfast, I decided to go with oat waffles and hypoallergenic formula syrup. I made 3 waffles, count them, 1, 2, and 3.
On TikTok, she shares the various
3 waffles. I would have had 2.
ways she eats.
Honestly, all the recipes came from posting on TikTok. Like, I posted being like, this is my diet, like, let me know if anybody else struggles with this, because I'm going crazy. And then I just got a flood of comments. I was like, oh my god, why have I never thought of that? And all the recipes have come from my comment section, basically. And it's added so much to my quality of life. Like, I really enjoy cooking now, and it's just like something I look forward to. And it's, you know, I can kind of replicate things.
We are making the ugliest ice cream sundae you will ever see.
Caroline is working with doctors to slowly incorporate more foods back into her diet.
The girl that can only eat 2 foods is on day 4 of the lamb trial.
I've been food trialing single ingredient, low
Are you allergic to burritos and enchiladas?
histamine foods to help, you know, normalize my diet. But it's proven to be a really long and difficult process. So you measure a little amount of the food. So like, I'd start with like a piece that's like half the size of my pinky fingernail, and I'd put that on my tongue for the first day. And then the next day, I would chew that around and then spit it out. And then the next day, I'd take that piece and I'd swallow it. And then the next day, I'd double that size and then eat it, swallow it. And you basically keep doing that until you get 2 consecutive comparable pre-anaphylactic reactions.
Caroline is hopeful she will have some normalcy again one day.
I want to do more than...
Yeah, me too. Cause I wouldn't want to be allergic to everything but 2 foods.
Just eating to live. And I know that I've gotten to a place in the past where I was able to incorporate more foods, and I'm really optimistic that I can get back to that place. Just a matter of finding the right foods.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Andrea Swindle.
Okay.
what exactly is hantavirus?
Hantaviruses are common in rodents, and people can get infected with this.
3 cruise ship passengers have now died, others are being treated in hospital, and dozens more are stranded at sea, all after catching a strain of a disease that's usually spread by rats. Health experts say there's no wider threat and the situation's under control.
It's very unlikely that we will end up in a pandemic situation.
So where...
This is bothering me. I need to see the chat. Hang on. Hmm.
Where does this hantavirus come from, and how dangerous is it? Here's the breakdown. The MV Hondius, a luxury cruise ship that was taking around 150 people from the southern tip of Argentina to Cape Verde off the coast of West Africa, until 3 people on board died after becoming seriously ill. Lab testing confirmed they had a rare disease called hantavirus. Since then, there's been more suspected cases, including a British doctor and 2 others who've been evacuated to hospital, and a man who was on the ship last month who's now being treated in Switzerland. Spain did agree to let passengers head to the Canary Islands for medical checks, but the island's leader has said no, saying public safety can't be guaranteed. So what actually is hantavirus? It's usually spread through the saliva or excrement of infected rodents. Even dried feces is a risk because it can release tiny particles which are easily inhaled. Symptoms can take 1 to 8 weeks to show and can feel like mild flu. But phase 2 can lead to lung damage, heart and kidney failure, and in the most severe cases, death. Unlike a disease such as COVID, hantavirus normally can't spread as easily from human to human. However, cruise ships are known for being prone to virus outbreaks. Back in 2020, COVID spread to more than 700 people on the Diamond Princess. Being in the same space for weeks, sharing buffet food and limited medical access at sea all contribute to the risk. That's why the World Health Organization has said MV Hondius passengers could have spread hantavirus between each other.
We know typically most people are infected through contact with rodents or their saliva or droppings, but this one particular virus has been associated with some limited human-to-human transmission among close contacts in past outbreaks.
Though scientists have stressed hantavirus isn't a global threat, what we still don't know is how or where the virus was picked up in the first place. Experts have now confirmed some passengers on the cruise ship had the Andes strain of hantavirus, which can be spread from one human to another. So what does that mean and how does it change things? Remember, this ship set off from South America. There have been people in hospital in South Africa and Switzerland, and a British crew member has been evacuated. So is this now a global issue? To help answer those questions, I'm going to bring in an expert on viruses. Julia Gallo is a postdoctoral scientist from the Pirbright Institute. Julia, thanks very much for joining us. Can you start by telling us a bit more about this virus and what the symptoms are?
This virus is called Andes virus. It's mainly found in South America. That ends the name. At the beginning, we have something called flu-like symptoms. So something like fever, nausea, headache, general fatigue, like a sense of unwellness. And then as the disease progresses, we find mainly this virus causes something called hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. So the patients have difficulty in breathing mainly. It can affect the heart as well. So they usually need to be hospitalized. In a ICU for survival. And unfortunately, we don't have any treatment, so there is no pre-treatment like a vaccine.
You said there's no treatment for this at the moment. Could there be, in theory, a vaccine for this developed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the moment it's not something that a lot of funding agencies are focusing on, because this is a bit scary because it's something that feels new. In reality, it's not new, but it's rare. That's why we don't hear it often. And because it's rare, there is not as much investment and fundings. But absolutely, there are people that are looking to developing some kind of vaccine.
This virus, as we understand it, is usually passed on by rats. Can you explain for us how we are in a situation now where it's in humans? How does it transfer?
What can happen is that, especially in rural areas, people might come into contact with excreta of rodents, and then for example, you can imagine if you're cleaning an old house in the countryside, there are excreta of rodents, and then you maybe try to throw them away or with a broom, and when you move those, the viruses, the particles that are in these excreta becomes aerosol, and they can be inhaled by people. And so that's mainly how the contact happens.
So even a little bit of exposure can be a problem?
Yeah, we don't know the level though. We don't know how big. Usually for these viruses, the exposure has to be quite a high number of particles. So we don't know if it's an activity of 1 minute compared to an activity of 1 hour. Of course, the longer the exposure, the higher the chances.
Most people will be hearing about hantavirus for the first time, but it's not a new disease, is it?
No. So the name hantavirus comes from the river Hantan in Korea. And so the virus were found the first time they were isolated was in 1978.
50 years old.
Exactly. It seems to have been reported from the 50s. Of course, it's hard because the technology we had back then to trace disease is not the same as we have today. But it might be, they might be around, at least infecting human with reports for the last 70 years.
Do we know how we went from it being in Korea to, there being the Andes strain, for example? Because that's quite a big distance, isn't it? A very different part of the world.
So when we talk about hantaviruses, we have different species. And broadly speaking, we distinguish them between old world hantaviruses and new world hantaviruses. So Andes is a new world hantavirus. And Hantan, it's an old world hantavirus. So they are different. They didn't move around. They were already in different parts of the world, and we believe that new world hantaviruses such as Andes, they cause, as I described earlier, a pulmonary syndrome, while viruses from the old world, so Europe and Asia, cause another type of disease which affects mainly kidney, and the fatality rate is much, much lower. So we talk about 1% for viruses in Europe to 15% to viruses in Asia.
So they're very different. They're very different diseases.
Yeah, the outcomes are different, the diseases are different. Of course, we classify them in the same viral family because of the genome, because of the way they look like. But yeah, we consider them quite separately. And when we do study them, we actually usually compare one to the other because we want to understand why viruses that belong to the same viral family have such different outcomes in humans.
In the specific case of this cruise ship, then, how could this have happened?
One of the leading scenarios that we are imagining is that people were traveling in an area where Andes could be found, so Argentina. Although my understanding is that the specific area, I think they were in Ushuaia. So, but you can imagine they were in an area where the virus is endemic, and we don't know what the type of tourism they've done, but if they went to a rural area or where the virus might be present, they might come into contact with it and then went back to the ship. And the disease takes some time to develop, so it is believed between 1 to 8 weeks. So we could imagine that we are just seeing it now because it takes a bit to start. That's the most likely scenario.
Can you talk us through what the process is when someone is evacuated, in this instance, from the ship? What then happens from a medical standpoint?
My understanding is that it can be quite scary because, of course,